Hello and welcome to the Still Unsponsored podcast. Yes, we're recording.
Hello.
For those wanting to know, I'm Chris.
I'm Zach.
All right, so last couple episodes we had pretty tight topics, covered a bunch of ground, and we didn't do our other like industry news type segments. So I think this show we're basically just going to catch up with a couple of stories that we've been watching, or I've been watching.
You've been watching.
Yeah. And
Happy holidays, everyone.
Right, exactly. I think I'm one of the few people left that still uses an RSS reader.
Yeah, you are. Congratulations.
We're just like lost in the wilderness now because RSS is dead and like Twitter is fast following. So what do you do? No.
That's Donald Trump on a toilet.
Tweeting.
Mm-hmm.
That could also be Facebook just like amplifying what you want to hear.
Yeah.
The Facebook algorithm echo chamber, aka Russian news.
RT.
Something like that. Okay, so jumping right in.
Hey, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I'm drinking a Austin East Cider's Blood Orange because that's what was in the fridge.
Cool.
And you're not.
I'm drinking water.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah. So that means I'm not drinking wine, which means I'm not going to be nearly as happy.
These are going to be angry stories.
These are going to be angry stories. Let's start with the first angry story.
All right.
This was in Adweek. Retailers dropping storytelling. So that was the headline. And it was an interesting story. So basically, it started out talking about how Cyber Week or Cyber Monday 2017 generated $6.59 billion in revenue. It was the largest online shopping day in history. And then it went into... there was another stat in some other story that was quoted to me, but I don't know the source. And it was like, allegedly, Amazon did half of that.
Whoa.
Yeah. And from watching the Black Friday, Cyber Monday stuff this year, Amazon was not very aggressive. It didn't seem like, they were competing that hard with people like Best Buy or Home Depot. It was almost like the ball was in those retailers' court. So that just as an observation following up from our conversations about promos,
Yep.
That was kind of interesting. But back to the story, basically what they're saying is, instead of crafting, sort of longer cinematic feel good, ads that get people all warm and fuzzy to spend money for the holiday season.
The Christmas tradition.
The Christmas tradition. Consumerism, yes. They are going more like direct response and like focusing on their loyalty programs as a way of like, or basically crafting ads that say like, hey, remember how it's so great to do business with Kohl's, right? Or to shop at Kohl's and how that makes the season better.
Yeah.
Right. So thoughts on this? A lot of these guys are screwed anyway. Like, death is coming and Amazon's going to be the messenger. Like, don't you think?
This got dark quick.
I'm not drinking wine. Like,
Yeah.
is there a happy ending for people like JCPenney's?
No. JCPenney's been long on its way out.
Yeah.
Same with like Sears.
Yeah.
But I do see a spot. It'd be interesting to see what happens. More niche-y players, like REI, for example.
Totally.
They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, and REI and Best Buy are adopting similar strategies where the website feeds people into the stores.
Right.
So, fun story, minor tangent here. I was at SEMPDX a couple years ago, and I sat on this really fun panel, and it was supposed to be about A/B testing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an A/B testing / PPC person from REI, and then there was an agency person there. And the panel was supposed to be on A/B testing, and the agency person stood up and gave 15-minute presentation on how to academically do A/B testing. The REI person stood up and said, doing A/B testing effectively is basically impractical because even companies like REI don't have the resources to generate 2 of everything.
Yep.
And there's so many other external factors that get in the way of testing that everything that this agency person just said is crap. The agency person was so pissed, so pissed. It was awesome, and I think that as you get bigger and more resources, a topic for another show, A/B testing is certainly practical, and you can do it. But I still agree with the REI person that in that instance, like, the academic way that the agency person was talking about is really never going to happen.
He read it off of a book.
Yeah, well, both of them were she. So here's the fun fact that the REI person dropped. If you look at REI's website, there's a find in store button, or like a check store thing.
Yep.
She said that did something like, cut their e-commerce conversions in half. And so this was basically making her point on, like, you may run a test that's good for the business, but is sort of bad for your metrics. So if you're looking at the world the way the agency person was suggesting, you would miss the big picture that sales had gone up dramatically for the business, but hadn't gone up for for e-commerce. Or I think she also had managed like the PPC channel or something like that. So it's like that had crushed their conversion rate, and so it sort of looked like things were ineffective. But interesting thing. Best Buy is now hitting that really heavily as well.
Home Depot has that as well. Find this in the store. I really like that feature, actually.
I'm a huge fan of that as well.
It's in this bay. Okay, cool.
Well, okay, so there's that, right? But then there's also, it's waiting for you at the front door.
Yeah.
Right? So these retailers for a while can use their stores as warehouses.
Yep.
And compete with Amazon that way if you like really want it now, assuming they can like fulfill it faster than Amazon Prime.
Fulfill it?
Fulfill?
Fulfill?
Okay.
There's no R in there.
Whatever. If they can have it ready for pickup faster than you can get there.
There we go. Fulfilled.
And you're good to go.
Message fulfilled.
Fulfilled. Okay. So point one, most of these guys are boned anyway, and I don't think focusing on a loyalty program is going to help them.
No, especially, you take anything. Kohl's, well, what are they? They're department store, mostly clothing.
Discount
clothing.
Yeah.
I frankly am surprised that the Netflix style of clothing hasn't taken off yet. There's a lot of people out there doing that, but I think the whole everything's gonna be flipped on its head, flipped on its back, flipped on its head, whatever. What's
flipped?
Flipped. It'll be flipped and then picked up.
Okay.
In a few years, I agree. They're it's a dying breed.
Things are changing. Is the point?
The question. So here's another subject for another day. All this retail space, what do you do with it?
Like, after the Amazon apocalypse has happened?
Well, it's happening in malls right now. A whole bunch of malls are shutting down.
Yeah.
What do you do with all that space? Convert it to condos?
Convert it to cubicles?
I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, I
we should get an urban planner on the show.
Have you thought about the Amazon apocalypse and what that's going to do to your shopping malls? Okay, so here's a question for, again, yet another show. We're like restocking the bank here. Does shopping on Amazon, like sort of surfing through Amazon, fulfill the same like compulsion that people have to shop in real life?
If the website's good, yes.
You think so?
Frequently bought with this.
Yeah. Yet tangent 53 for this show. Like, I think that the internet also has this impact of like the things that you get into get so obscure that like there's no way that you could do that in retail, because like like, oh, I'm into this particular brand of this particular thing that's only made in this particular country, and like, no one's going to be able to like stock that on their shelves in Austin, Texas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whole new world.
So,
long story short, let's wrap this news article up.
Hang on, I'm not done yet.
Oh.
I had one more point on this.
Okay.
I had 2 more points on this. The first one was,
ladies and gentlemen, I have not read the show notes.
The ads are not direct response like an online marketer would think about them. So even these like retailers are dropping storytelling like as a headline, like I read that as thinking from my online marketing background and expecting to see a like car dealership style ad that's like, the Kohl's store is located at this address. Come now for 10% off or 50% off or 80% off or whatever. Right? That would be like direct response with no storytelling.
Yeah.
But there's still some sort of storytelling happening there.
Give me an example of one of these ads. I'm drawing a blank.
So the one that's in there is like, it looks like there's two hordes, like kind of Braveheart style, throwing presents at each other. And turn your sound down so it doesn't like ruin our lives here. And Wi-Fi, chooch. This is yeah, okay. So like already there's some aspects of storytelling here. There's a narrative in this ad.
They hired a director.
Like it's not.
There's a lot of extras in this thing.
Yeah, super high production value. And then the other one for there's one for Toys R Us, and then I think there's another one for Home Depot in there. You should mute it.
We should link to it so people can see what the hell we're watching.
Yeah, exactly. We'll link to it. Still unsponsor.com, but not what we would think of as like direct response. So the headline of the ad was not quite, or the headline of the
it was
article
clickbait, Chris.
Yeah,
It was clickbait.
It was clickbait.
You got clickbaited.
Well, I was really hoping that one of two things would happen. One, the clickbait sessions at conferences where it talks about like how you need to tell a story to blah 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 blah, and it's like just sort of the hot thing right now, would go away. That was one thing I was hoping. And then the other thing I was hoping is like maybe we were gonna enter a less emotionally manipulative ad creative era. I can dream.
Guess not.
Guess not. Okay, let's move on to something a little bit more exciting for you, Zach.
So let's summarize this whole entire shebang.
Okay, Amazon's going to kill everyone.
Okay.
So you might as well move your business to Amazon now.
And there's a whole bunch of open retail space.
And if you're not participating in Cyber Monday, you're freaking out of your mind.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Next topic.
Amazon is blocking cookies. Or sorry, Amazon. Apple is
right.
blocking cookies after 24 hours.
Yeah, this is...
Headline says it all.
This pisses me off, frankly.
Okay.
I'm actually... This one actually is kind of frustrating.
Tell me how you feel, Zach.
We really do need to have Loveline on here, and you have people calling in. So here's the thing. Apple has decided...
Are you triggered yet?
Apple has decided in their own whatever, their own uppityness.
So when you're on stillunsponsored.com to go see those ads that we were just talking about, you can see how Zach has no less than 2 Apple devices in front of him. And you got a watch on, don't you? All right.
Anyways.
Moving on.
So basically what they've decided is various cookies are now being blocked for, I guess, 24 hours or whatever. And the idea behind this is you are not being tracked via the cookie pools out there on the interwebs, right? So when you visit a major publisher like Amazon, they generally are partnered with third parties that kind of map you out. So they can say, okay, look, you are like
data warehouses.
Data warehouses. You bought a giant monitor. You are probably a high-income tech nerd, right? You've been kind of cooking into that pool. And they track you through the web. Big and scary, right? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Apple has decided...
Go back and watch or listen to our last episode.
Right. Apple has decided, you know what? We're not going to... Yeah, no. We're not going to let that happen.
Yeah. So...
Here's the thing. This is what's frustrating.
Okay. Tell me, what's the thing, Zach?
The internet is, like, heavily monetized by this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, astronomically.
Yeah.
How, like, that would be like Google saying, you know what? Yeah, we're just going to accept cookies anymore. Except Google cookies.
Who does Apple not like?
Everyone.
But specifically, I can think of 2 names that come immediately to mind.
Google.
And?
Amazon?
Well, I was thinking Facebook.
Well, yeah, okay.
Who are the 2 biggest sellers of retargeting?
Google and Facebook.
Yeah.
There's also a whole bunch of other third-party small tiers and all that other crap, but that's the point. So,
right,
like Google retargeting. Now what? Seriously, now what?
It works for 24 hours and then it dies. Yeah. So I would say like in the early days there'll be aftermath or workarounds. Like remember when we were using like Flash player to like drop cookies on people because that was the cookies didn't get erased when someone erased all their browser cache, stuff like that. So I'm sure there'll be like some crazy workaround like that, but yeah, on one hand it'll make the whole like attribution, vendor thing.
Goodbye.
Like, well, no, I was thinking actually more important, because if they're making guesses at like how often someone visited from different devices, then
You're not going to get that though.
Well, that's the whole point, though, is that the attribution vendor would be building models to try and make assumptions about how that's working.
Good luck.
That's kind of how I feel about it as well. Yeah,
It'd be like everyone. Yeah, a whole bunch of mobile devices. You don't know which one's which.
Right.
So the argument in this article, I was just reading it really quickly. The argument is that they're saying most of the 15% of mobile browsing occurs in the browser, with the 85% taking place in apps. So their whole argument here is it's not a big deal. The problem is when they take that and extrapolate it out to the desktop version of Safari, or they decide to lock down apps or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing. The internet has regulated ways of doing things, right? So there's the ad choices, that whole platform. You can literally turn off the cookies if you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know. You can clear your cookies, folks, right? You can clear your cookies.
Well, okay, so I think it's also a important point to say, why would a consumer want retargeting, right? And my argument there has always been like, you as a consumer want retargeting or want some of this profiling because the ads are going to be more curated to
you're going to see them
patterns.
regardless.
Well, but you're going to see, things that you want to see. But like, think back to the early days of the internet, or think about watching TV, where it's like you watch the nightly news and like, 90% of the ads don't apply to you.
Senior psoriasis?
Right. Like, sorry, that's not the like particular medical problem I have. Like I don't like spend my money on pharmaceuticals, thankfully.
Yeah.
But if there was retargeting on TV, instead I would just see a bunch of ads for Best Buy and Amazon. Yeah. For Apple products.
So I guess this is like Apple sticking its foot where it doesn't belong. Is kind of what I'm getting at. This is, to me, this is a non-issue. There's ad blockers. You can clear your cookies. There's ways to get around it if you're really privacy and.
Okay, so let's step back. Bitching about it's not going to help because Apple's going to do whatever they're going to do anyway.
Yeah.
Like, what do we marketers do about this?
I don't know. Someone will find a way to get around it, and then they'll implement it, and it'll be the vicious cycle.
So I would say, try and drive people whenever you can into engagement lists, like email lists, into social media, into just skip, like, okay, so for example, here's going to be one of the big holes, right? Facebook will track you whenever you're logged in, right? So Facebook probably doesn't care about this, because if you're logged into Facebook, then they're tracking your specific user across a whole bunch of things. So yeah, the cookie might get wiped
until Apple decides it doesn't want to allow the Facebook.
Well, okay, fine. But then you still have that retargeting, like, okay, in Safari, I logged into Facebook or clicked some share link, and then I was logged into Facebook. I went over to Zach's awesome store. Right now I'm back in Facebook and I'm captured and I'm seeing a bunch of ads for Zach's awesome store.
Yeah.
Right. So all is not lost. It's just gonna be a pain.
It's a slippery slope.
I think, but they're the only company really interested in doing this.
It doesn't matter. They have enough users though.
They're right now. Yeah. I'm not entirely convinced that all is lost, but this is very interesting.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to yet another Apple story. Preparing for a post-handset world. I heard this in two different stories. This one, and then I think I also heard it maybe on Exponent, which is another podcast I listen to. But they were talking about, like, Exponent was specifically talking about, like, are we getting close to not needing a handset? So like, is the iPhone going to go away and be replaced by your Apple Watch? Especially since your AirPods or your Bluetooth headset.
Douche head, not goggle things.
Well,
Douche pods.
Let's just say your Bluetooth headset can pair with your watch. You know, do you need the phone? And this article is like, well, if you're using your watch like a phone, then it's only going to last 3 hours. And it doesn't have a camera, and it doesn't have a couple other convenient features. But the short answer is, yeah, you can kind of get away with it for short periods of time. This is all kind of assuming you're a heavy user, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're a light user and you're just running around town running errands, then yeah, you probably could totally get away with it. In fact, you might not even need the AirPods. Like, you just talk to your wrist. Yeah. So, you know, we talk about impact on marketing. First of all, just as a human being, it's kind of exciting to think that like you'd go to dinner and people wouldn't be like buried in their phones, which I'm totally guilty of. But like,
yeah, I've made a commitment to not use my phone during dinner. Usually I flip it over. It's about the person you're with, Chris. It's about the conversation, not the phone.
I have shitty dinner companions. It's usually you.
Which is why
I'm always on my phone.
So usually I'm just talking to myself.
I'm augmenting your personality with things that interest me and retargeting
Best Buy and Amazon ads.
Best Buy.
Thanks.
In fact, if you could get like some ad space like right on your forehead, that would
all right.
It would like help me maintain
OLED monitor on my
it would help me maintain eye contact.
That could be a good way to make some money.
Monetize foreheads.
Yeah.
There's a guy that tried that.
Yeah. Less permanent option.
Yeah, less permanent option.
I don't know. This is definitely very interesting. I don't know. So look at, like, personally speaking, I don't use my phone very much. I'm at my computer at the office, or I'm at my computer at home. If I'm traveling, I'm not really doing too much. So
I think starting with the first Apple Plus size phone, whatever that was, 7 Plus,
6 Plus, I think.
6 Plus.
Yeah.
I became a heavy phone user and stopped using my iPad. Probably my like total screen time went up significantly. So, and that's also saying like, well, at home my phone became, excuse me, more appealing than my iPad, right? So the last time I logged into my iPad was probably like the day that I got the 6 Plus.
So it's an old iPad.
Oh yeah,
You probably should get rid of it.
yeah, I probably should.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, I think it could be problematic because apps like Facebook, apps like Instagram, those sorts of things will have to rethink like how they work, and it'd even be disruptive to like just the whole app ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe you see a return of like large format, you know, it's not mobile first anymore. Maybe it's like, again, desktop first, but maybe there's some sort of like, there's got to be some sort of feature of like, hey, I'm out and about and I saw this thing, remind me when I get back to my main screen to like boop, boop, boop. Yeah. So some sort of like version of notifications or something that's like,
Siri's so smart, she'll just do it all for you.
yeah. Well, okay, so
Siri, clear my cookies.
So we're also, I think, about to see a revolution in like digital assistants and like building skills. Like I think we know a lot of companies that we're working with that are building skills for Alexa. But you know, and I don't know if Siri does it so much right now. I think
she's pretty closed.
Yeah, she doesn't work as well anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, I just got to talk about this because I thought it was so cool. So Destiny, the game, has like an in-game virtual assistant, right? That's sort of a character. But Bungie released a skill for Alexa that allows you to talk to your in-game virtual assistant, you know, in real life, and it does useful things that you need in-game. That are features in the UI they never released. So I thought it was a really cool linkage between like real life virtual assistant and virtual assistants. You're just not having any of this.
No, I'm not having any of this.
Okay.
All right.
Moving on.
So yes, that's the future is now.
Yeah. Okay, so the next story is a direct follow-up from our last episode 10, where we were talking about...
Wait, what's the summary? What the book summary of said Apple Watch?
Oh,
Future.
same thing as the first story. We're all screwed and we're gonna die.
You know, what'd be really cool is if you could order something from your watch and it's delivered by the time you get home.
That would be really cool.
All right. Ooh, Moz, here we go. What do we got?
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking last week. Remember we were saying, like, okay, so these attribution vendors building models that, building models that give you a window into what's probably happening, right? And Elliot was saying, you need to ask the vendor, like, what's the signal to noise, like, error rate in their models, right? And then we were talking about how Google and Facebook could potentially have the superior product just because it's not a model, it's just straight up data, right? Like, they just know what's going on. And that led us to the that argument between would someone like Google or Facebook making an attribution vendor be biased either towards their own products or biased against other marketing channels by making the sort of barrier of certainty so high that they would never bucket a sale as coming from another channel. So if you look in the documentation of the way GA works, so backing up, this story is background on how direct traffic in GA works. So direct traffic is the other bucket, essentially. If GA doesn't have data for it, it ends up in direct, or
How is this news?
It's not.
Okay.
But what is a follow-up from our previous episode is if you look at the chart that's included in that story, the very first possible outcome is Google AdWords.
Yeah.
And this makes sense from a Google architecture standpoint, but this also makes sense from sort of a high-level, like, product engineering, reinforcing your advertising product with your analytics and attribution product, because it's not like AdWords would always win if they're in a competition because they have the first window of opportunity.
Except, Chris, you can change the order of processing in analytics.
Yeah, but how many people do that? You would have to know. You would have to read.
It's an admin. You just go to default channel mapping, and you can.
You would have to, like, read this article, and then you'd have to listen to this podcast, and then you'd have to, like, call
or if you understand it, never mind.
Yeah, you can change it. Yeah, you can set up filters, but
I remember why I lost my interest in Moz. This stuff is so extra, Chris. That's what the new kids are saying now. So extra.
What's that mean?
Basic. It's the new basic.
Zach, the point is not that it's basic. For you, it's basic. You knew you could do that. Like, you and I both know from looking at client accounts that no one sets up filters when they should.
Yeah.
Right? The point here is that Google is already doing the things that we theorized they would be doing in the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't need to read this whole article on what is direct traffic. We can tweet that to you.
So what's the point of this?
The point... Fuck, are you not paying attention? God damn it.
And I haven't had a sip of alcohol in a week.
I give up.
Cool. Yes, I'm fucking with you.
You want to summarize here, Zach? You summarize this one.
So basically, Google is already doing what we thought it would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the proof.
Here's the proof. Especially when you do the product linking stuff, it's really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you do Search Console integrating with analytics at Chooches.
Well,
it does some really cool stuff.
There's the other proof of it, which is like, okay, the only way that you really are going to get the Search Console information or this query data, like especially now that they're like hiding the queries, is by using Google Analytics, and is by buying their advertising products.
Yep.
So yeah,
full circle.
Yep.
Google can do whatever they want to the world.
Yeah. So that would make Google's attribution product probably the best. But
I want to try that thing out.
Yeah, totally. Me too.
I bet you it's freaking awesome.
I bet it is too.
Yeah.
but it's also going to say that Google products are the best,
And they probably are.
which they probably are.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that is it.
All right.
Okay.
What's our time?
30 minutes exactly.
Boom. Look at that. An episode of news and commentary.
Yeah, exactly. In 30 minutes.
There we go.
Cool. Well, with that, we'll close. StillUnsponsored.com is the website where you can check out all the links from this episode, since there are many, and embedded videos, which there will be several. And then find us on social media, Instagram.com/StillUnsponsored, Twitter, all the same. If you go to the website, there's links there, people.
Go to the website.
Yeah,
And sign up
exactly.
for the email newsletter.
Right. It's not Apple Watch friendly yet,
We'll get there.
and Siri's not a fan, but she's not really a fan of life. So
Goodbye. Well, that's the AOL mail thing.
okay, we're done.
Goodbye.